Hey guys, my name is Seniac and welcome back to another episode of Subway Builder, the UK edition, where we've extended to another airport in London. We now have gone from Heathrow all the way to the City Airport in London, all within our red line. Now this has transformed my subway company actually quite dramatically, because all of a sudden, the red line is now transporting over 100,000 people for the first time, which is ridiculous. When you look at the red line compared to the next best line, oh my goodness me, it is 100,000 people more. And that does kind of show itself within our revenue as well. The revenue has since jumped up. Ignore that bit, that's when the game decided to delete my red line in the last episode. Revenue jumped up and so has profit. We're now making $250 million, big ones, every single day, pure profit. Now, I've got to be careful. It doesn't mean I can now go expansion crazy, although I am going to go expansion crazy, because I've got to remember I still have that $1 billion bond loan repayment that I have to do. We've already managed to pay off 50 million of it, which is pretty good. So kind of got to relax slightly moving forward. But if you are enjoying this series so far, please make sure you smash that like button down below. Subscribe if you are new, so you do get notified when more episodes do come out. But we're going to continue these expansions. Now, right now, you can see from the route ridership, it goes the red line, then it goes yellow and green line. And that's because they are pretty much heavy connectors within it. The blue line does connect, but it has to then connect to the red line, the green line and the yellow line anyway. So you might as well just go straight, then come down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to alleviate some pressures and we're going to finally extend the pink line over the red and the blue line. And also, I want to try and align the green line and the pink line as they come through to where they need to go. And do you think it's time that I show the blue line some love? Because right now it does feel like it's a little bit pointless, but it's going to eventually expand north and then come down south, and it will eventually come into its own, and it could become as busy as the other lines. So first things first then, we're going to figure out where these two lines are going to expand to. Now, I think the pink line is going to probably turn here, go across these two stations, and then lead. I don't know whether to actually make it go to this way or make it kind of come up to go that way and expand north, or give it the option to go in two directions. For me, that sounds pretty good. The green line could kind of come up into here. Now, I don't want to try and follow existing real-life train infrastructure. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to play the game on my own. But there is a big worker area over there that we could extend the green line up to, which I think will be absolutely glorious. The pink line, I'm probably going to make it follow that run. But to do that, I've got to get into here, which also would mean I probably would require to build a quad station for something that might come down in this direction. Ooh. But my main focus is going to be on the pink line to begin with anyway. And we need to first find out what the depths of all the building foundations here are. And I think we'll pretty much get away with a -10, but I just want to double check. Let me just try a -5. Yeah, I want to see if I can go to a -9. Is it still a problem? Yeah, and then -10. No problemo. Right. We're going to build the quad station just here, and we'll build it on a slight diagonal. That's where we're going to lead it all in. And then we're okay running train lines through. I want to bend that round to get over to here. Is that Wembley? I'm not too sure. That's either I think that's Wembley, right? Or is it the Emirates? I always forget which is which. There is another one somewhere else. Over there, I think that one's Wembley. Is that the Tottenham Stadium? No, I could be wrong. Right, listen, can't remember where. No, that's the Tottenham Stadium there. I think that's the Arsenal Stadium, and then that one over there is Wembley. Am I right in saying that? I can't quite remember. My geography's not geographying right now. But Right, let me just get my... Oh, I need my demand stats up as well, because that does help me work out. I'm surprised there's not really much going on around here for, like, workers, stuff like that. But, hey-ho, it is what it is. It is what it is. So, let's bring it back down to a -5, because then we're pretty much okay. Or I could elevate it to save a bit of money in this area. We do have the luxury of being able to elevate it, just because of how it naturally falls. So I'm going to elevate it just because, although I'm trying to build a subway network, there's nothing wrong with also, you know, boys, saving some money. Right, there we go. I keep forgetting to pin the demand stats. Right, that will go there. And then let's work out where the rest of these elevations are going to go, if I can squeeze any more in. So... I probably wouldn't want a station here, but we're going to have to make it go through this. So I think I'll make this back to a -5. But then again, that's going to be a -10, right? Yeah, so I'm going to have to make that one a -10, unfortunately, to go through those buildings. Just to get the right space, which would lead into down here. Actually, let me undo that. Right, and we'll pull it more there. It's got a more of a better radius, I feel, anyway. So that's where the pink line is going to go to, and we'll pretty much end it there for just a moment. We'll then try and incorporate the underpasses here. Now, we do have the waterfront, which we're going to have to make it go through. There is a quad station there I have to work with as well, which is now just, actually, now thinking about it, has made my expenses 10 times more. I don't think I can get away with a -5 because I think this station already is a -5. That is true. So this, unfortunately, is going to be quite an expensive build. So you go there, which is okay. And I want it to run to over here. So do I incorporate one more station to kind of cut through that? Oh, there is some workers going on. There is a little bit of residents, so I'll throw in a station just here. Now, so far, it's not saying insufficient funds. Although I'm getting pretty close to what I currently have in the bank right now. It's still not saying insufficient funds, but it will do when I get all this in next. So build stations. This, unfortunately, is going to have to be also be a -10. Oh, no, hold on. That must already be a -10. Now, I can build that there, but let me see if I can go to a No, I'm going to have to go even deeper here, unfortunately. I'm going to have to go even deeper. So if I put that there, because I've also got to create the transition for this. Oh, my goodness me, this is so... Oh, actually, what if... Because that's a parallel. Is that paralleling to go to the right or to turn up this way? I think it might be. Or do I quad that through here up to there and then that's where it splits? Because that's then completely building different lines and then I haven't got to do any crazy infrastructure. It could work, but then I'm kind of guaranteeing something being over there, which could kind of turn from this way. But I do like... I mean, that's going to be impossible to build upon anyway because of what's going on. That'll be all underground. Do you know what? I'm going to do it. Undo, undo, undo. We're going to build stations. It's going to be quad. Now, unfortunately, this one has to be a -15. Now, this one can be a -10. So we'll put you there. And then we're dropping one which is just there because there is some residential stuff going on. And that's where I want to extend the pink line to all the way up to there. Now it's telling me insufficient funds. We're at 1.1 billion with a B. That is crazy. So that's soon going to creep up as I now add the rest of these tracks all in. So the pink line is in the middle, which is quite important there that I do kind of figure that out beforehand. Why can't I get the quad to run? Right, there we go. Quad running straight in. From there to there. So just building those two tracks has now cost me an extra... Wow. an extra 220 billion. Right, I need to get it to the elevated section as quick as possible, don't I? I really do right now. Right, quad. Why is that changing? What's going on here? So quad, there to there. This will be the last set of quad. Now, it's also even more expensive because I have chose to do quad. You know what I mean? So I'm going to bring this to a 5. Which is probably the wrong idea to do. So if I bring that like that and then bow that round just to there and then in, that would have saved me a little bit of money before I have to then drop down to that depths. So let me just get this now down to a -10. Which going through there does it to then run into that. And then this is where we are now going to elevated. This is where we start to save a little bit of cash, but I'm already in the hole right now, which is terrifying. So I'm going to get it up to a +5, which is going to be a lot more difficult than you think. So let me just keep to my -10 first. So let's just get to there. And then we'll go to a +5. To there. And then feed you in. Right, that's as far as we're taking it. Drop a crisscross on that right now. And that is going to cost me, I reckon, 2 billion. Oh, no, okay, 1.65 billion. Okay. Okay, not too bad. So we'll come back to that. And 1.65 billion is what we're going to require. So let me just get rid of the build depths on this then, so we're not looking at all of it. And I could, in theory, take a look at paying off my bond, which will allow me to borrow an extra 100 million on top. So if I pay that off, I'm no longer paying the daily interest. So I now just need to wait a little bit longer until we can earn some sweet cash money moolah. Now, some of these areas, and I feel like this one here, could be fixated to where it's not a -10. So let me delete you, let me delete you. So I feel like we might be able to get away on this little area with it at least being a -5, and it's only then. Actually, no, it can be a -9 because it's still the ×1 build costs. But I'm just going to see if I can squeeze... Oh, okay, that's probably where my issue is going to lie. Is the fact that it's too wide to squeeze in. Unless I do it there, but then I'm still going to hit these buildings. I can try and squeeze it in there. Oh! Right, how much is it going to cost me to delete a building? Now, if the building I'm deleting is not too expensive... Oh, no, no, no. There we go. So I probably would have saved a bit of cash with the fact that the station is not as low as before. Oh my goodness me, I've nearly saved 200 million just by doing that alone. That's why you gotta like kind of like not commit to your blueprint straight away and then just reevaluate them before anything else. Right, okay, so I only need 470 million in the bank before I then borrow the extra billion bond, and I can commit to that. It's quite an extensive extension there in terms of like costs, but it's the depth that I've had to build them at, which is wild. So right now then, route ridership, my pink line is the second least used line, but it's about to become the second most used line. From the fact that it crosses over, and it's the first crossover for the red line coming from this direction, but it extends into a little bit of no man land that nobody else goes to, and it's a little bit longer as well. Interesting. So we almost have enough right now, but the time of day says otherwise. So the last 24 hours, I think we now make money almost on every single hour of the day. We struggled with that on the earlier episodes, but now we're making money on every single hour, so that's a bonus. That really is a bonus. And now we just wait for this little bit of rush hour to squeeze in, and that pink line is about to skyrocket, which is going to make the blue line feel even worse, unless it brings passengers down to the blue line. It's always going to be a benefit. There's always going to be somebody who wants to go onto it. So yeah. Right. Issue the bond. Commit to the build. And let's finally extend the pink line. Oh my goodness me, this is crazy. Right, let's edit the route. So get it to stop off on both first. Now, coming through all of this. Running it up. Now, the infrastructure is now in for a secondary line to kind of also use these tracks to a certain point. Right, drop you in there. So that's going to be a huge benefit as well. So confirm those changes. Now, I don't think I have the ability to be able to get more trains just yet. But with that extension, we're going to probably need 2 more trains on the high demand. So let me just buy a couple more. Right, we'll buy $50 million worth of trains. There we go. So nice little extension. And then we'll have to wait a full day to see what the benefits are going to be from that. We really have to wait for that. But shall we see if we can slightly do a green line extension? I don't know if I'm going to be pulling more and more people away from the blue line. At some point, I might, dedicate an episode at some point just for the blue line extension, just to show it some love, because it is slowly getting left behind, isn't it? Right, route riderships. Look at that. Pink line is now gone from the second least used to the second most. Oh, the blue line's no longer at the bottom. So the increased traffic on the on the pink line, it actually does spill over to the blue line. And now because the pink line fully extends, people are using the green line less to connect to the red line. That makes a lot of sense, actually. I didn't kind of think about that. Because obviously if you're down here, you either choose the yellow line or the pink line, depending if you're going left or right. Wow, the blue line is the second most used. Right, they're loving it. They're loving it on the pink line right now. But let me see if I can do a little bit of improvements for the green line. So where do I want the green line to go? I feel like I want it to maybe cut into this because it's easier to build on this blank, which is where existing train lines currently are. So to kind of get it to go this way and then in, looking at residents, yeah, we want it to kind of then maybe bend round, which will be kind of like a cool thing for it to do. It's not going to need quad tracks, so we'll keep it simple. So build station then, we'll then go... I wonder if I can get it elevated from that point. Right, let me go to like a +5. Elevated to a certain point, of course. But if I built the station there, and then obviously I'll have to do a -10 to run through all of this. We'll do a little diagonal there. So already now insufficient funds, and that's going to cost me a 210 million, which is not actually that far off to what I've got right now. So that would bend into there. But I've got to get this from its +5 down to its -10, which that's going to be very, very difficult to do. So let me see if I can do like a -5 first. So I can get to a -5 about there. And then can I bring this down to a -10 from that point? Not really. But I could undo and go back to a -5. What I'll do is I'll bring this down to a -10. And then up to a -5 on a turn. No, actually, no. Keep it to a -10. Like really short there. And then there's no way in this world. What's going on? Why can't I build? There we go. That I can connect to. There is, but that building doesn't like it. I reckon if I delete that train station there, and then I go to a -5, why can't I select that? What's going on? Right, keep it down to a -10 a little bit longer. Just to get past that building. And then how long until I get to a 0? That's a 0. Then how long to a +5? There. Build a station. Bam. Voila! And I now actually have enough money to build that little green line extension. So that's going to cost me 311 million. And we have the funds for it, which is great. I wonder if I can then maybe include one additional. I mean, I'm going to make it go. Do I make it bend all the way around? It will eventually then meet up with the yellow line if I did that. Or I can save that for. Maybe I make it go there and then go more north this way. Is what I'll end up doing. So I know that if I was to build a station. Oh. Pink lines become particularly popular. I wonder why. I wonder why. So if I build that station there at a -2, that will give me enough depth to kind of go down. And do the same thing here with that one. And that will then transition us up, which should be fairly easy to do. Right, okay. So go to a +5 again. Right, it's going to cost me $1 million to delete that one building. And I think I'm going to. Because it will save me a lot of a headache trying to run tracks down to there. So right now, this is really affordable. This really is like super affordable. Until this bit now. Now, do I want a station in the middle? I feel like it would be a good idea. So this is where the real costs are going to come in right now, because we're going to have to do this a -10. By having a station. I might put the station just here. There we go. And then we're going to build the tracks. I need to get that down to a -10, which fairly easy to do on that front. And again, fairly easy to do there. Now, this green line extension is actually longer than the pink line extension I just done, but for half the costs. Right, I'm going to slow down right now because I am getting a little bit carried away. The last thing I will do is just quickly add a little crossover there. So it just shows the difference between, one, doing parallel to quad, and two, elevated to underground, which is even more exciting. So the reason I've had to kind of turn it to go up here is so I can get onto the elevated section, so we can avoid certain parts of the track. So without building that then, we should now be able to see what effect the pink line has now had. So it's obviously increased ever so slightly. My operating profit was, say, 250. It's now 300-ish. So we've gained an extra 50 million from the pink line extension. So we're making our 300 big ones every single day. Oh, we've come a long way, boys, since the old days. We've come a long way since the old days right now. Yeah. Right, so can't pay off the bond yet. We'll let it run a little bit longer anyway. I can't wait to the point where the money I'm making is not worth me getting these bonds, because I can save so much in interest, and that means I can do a lot of expansions. Very good. Right, route ridership. So green line has tanked. So there's me worrying about the blue line. Turns out doing that pink line extension really helped the blue line, but really, really affected the green line. It is what it is. Can't really do much about that right now, but the green line's going to get even more love, which might then increase even more people using the blue line as another kind of way to transport here, there, and everywhere. But we shall see. We shall see. So to commit to those builds then, we need 778 million, which we're not that far off. I'm not going to rejig anything because I feel like we could pretty much get there anyway. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, an extra 6 stations on that extension. See what we can do, guys, when we've finally got money arriving in our bank account right now? Glorious. Absolutely glorious. Right, so it is the morning, so I have to wait right now. So we should have had another day pass by, which is a little bit more money than the previous day. It's actually over the 300 million operational profit. Not bad. Day 92 as well. Total revenue was over 400 million. So that's pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. And what's our route ridership in terms of, sorry, the demand stats, transit 2.4%. Just a simple drop in the ocean. And then our station ridership right now, that's become the biggest crossover. Now, why is that? Is that because, let me check the demand stats. I think it just goes through a more densely populated residential area, which taps into new residents to already go to where the working areas are. So I think we kind of benefit on that front. Right, let's build the blueprints. And that green line extension is now going to kick in, which is going to be dramatic. So edit, bam, bam, bam. Right, keep it going. And then just to there. So nice little extension there. We'll confirm those changes. And we'll buy more trains. So, oh, actually, I can't afford any more trains. We would like to buy $50 million worth of trains. It would be nice to make the green line have 10 cars per train. So we'll do that first before anything else, because they're going to be overpopulated, those trains, at this point. So turn it to 10. And then can't add any more on, but we roughly want to get it a little bit higher. So can I buy $25 million? So a 6, 3, we'll do 2. Yeah, just gonna have to buy. I'll buy one more. Hopefully that gets me out of the. No, gotta buy one more. Right, 1 second. Right, there we go. That settles us down quite nice. So route ridership then. The green line is now no longer on the bottom. It's now number 3. Don't think it will rival the pink line, because the pink line goes further in the opposite direction into more untapped areas. Now the green line's overtaken the blue line, but will the mass amounts of people now utilising the green line's extension be forced to the blue line? I don't know. But what will happen is a lot of people want to go from here to here, so we'll come down and use the red line to transfer, thus increasing more people on the red line. So it kind of like all has a little bit of a knock-on effect. So you can see the station transfer right now when you kind of group the stations. So if I click on the transfers alone, you see where people are switching. And it's pink to red is huge. Second is red to yellow. It's mainly the crossovers from going like north, east, and west. So if you're coming from the south or coming from the north, coming down, and want to go east and west, those are the two stations you do it on. Those are the two stations you do it on. Right, okay. Nice. Route ridership? I don't think, yeah, like I said, I don't think the green line will kind of threaten it. But all of a sudden, it's now made my yellow line seem pretty weak. Now, I could go ahead and do some yellow line extensions, and we're back at square one at that point, with the blue line being left out. So, you had a good run, blue line. You had your little moment there for a second, but ultimately, I do need to give you some sweet extensions. So, extensions. Right, so with that little bit of an extension now, we obviously need to go a full day of seeing what the green line extension is going to do. We managed to earn an extra 30 million on the previous day, but obviously that wasn't a full day of the green line extension. That was profit, by the way, anyway. There was a difference between profit, almost 40 million in terms of revenue. So at some point, we will have to start thinking about doing some new lines additional. But I want to sprawl out these lines a little bit more, I feel like, before we kind of go down that road. But so far, so good. Loving it right now. Absolutely loving it right now. So how much is left to pay off my bond? We've almost paid off... Well, we've actually paid off over 60 million already. On the way to paying off 70 million. The profit is only halfway at the minute. Still got the evening rush hour to kick in, and where we make the majority of all of our money. And I don't want to push too many expansions just yet. Now, I might do a little bit of a yellow line extension by maybe 1 or 2 stops. Let's see how this will play out. So, demand stats, let's just quickly pin those. Residents. So this would need to, because it makes sense to run it through here, but there's no one around here. So I can kind of bring it up and kind of hug to that area quite close and then lead up. But there's not really anyone there. That's kind of what we've got to remember. So that's going to be elevated. Coming down, I can kind of bring it through there and then through here. Still keeping it elevated, which is probably the right thing to do. It wouldn't make sense to drop a station here. But I can see us bringing a train line through there, and then that becomes a transfer. So I'm going to build one anyway for the transfer. That's what I'm going to build this one for. So if I build it like slightly diagonal like that, it's where I run the train tracks coming through. And then I want this now to kind of turn to come up and then to bend round, and then we'll have a stop here. I'll have a stop there. And then we're going to have to go underground now. And it will have to, unfortunately, be a -10 to go underneath this building. Stop there. And then we'll bring it back to a +5. And then we'll end it with a stop there. So that doesn't seem too expensive for a train line extension. And they're more spaced apart than any of my other lines. So that'll be interesting to see how this now kind of comes together. So if I just slightly turn that to run you down. Bending you round, pushing you through. So now I've got insufficient funds. It shouldn't be too much of an issue though, because it looks like we've now got enough money. So we're on the cusp of not having enough and having enough. All right, there we go. Bring that down to there and then swoop you in. Bring you Down and in. Down and in. And then add a crisscross just there. So that's going to cost us 642 million. So now they're getting cheaper. That's a big extension. That's my longest extension in terms of distance, I feel like, from those three. But it does go to some of the least populated areas around. We should be really pushing for more of the density areas. But it's a nice extension nonetheless. And it should really, really help out our yellow line. So how are we looking right now since the green line extended? We have now got profits of... So it's actually added on an extra 40 million in profit. And we've now gained 100 million almost overall. Profit a day, right? That's what we've got to remember right now. Almost 100 million profit a day right now, just based on the extensions that we've done in this episode alone. Right, things are rocking and a-rolling, boys. So, we've got the next rush hour about to kick in very shortly. And we require... we've actually got enough cash right now. So, build those blueprints. Jump straight into that yellow line. And then we're going to edit the route. So, both there. Bam, bam. Bam, bam. Bam, 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 bam. Very nice. So, we then confirm those changes. And then train-wise, we're obviously going to have to buy some more. So, we'll buy 50 million's worth. And then call it that in terms of it. And that's solid, mate. So, this should now go back to square one. Back to where we started, with the blue line being the least used line. Yeah. Maybe by some margin as well. But we'll see. We'll ultimately see what the next day brings when the first rush hour kicks in. Is it gonna get left alone? Of course it is, boys. Of course it's gonna get left alone. Who are we kidding right now? Who are we kidding right now? Right, but we won't know until the rush hour kicks in because these stats are based on recent events. But nice extensions anyway. It kind of then gears up for thinking about doing like a big outer loop. I don't know whether to do like a big loop going around. I feel like that would be quite a cool thing for London. I know it has like in real life the circle line, which is technically not a circle. I'm suing for false representation. But it kind of like, you know, goes round-ish a little bit. You know, kind of. But I could do a nice little loop-de-loop. Right. First rush hour is about to kick in. Do we see a huge benefit right now from having that yellow line extension? Now, it actually inadvertently is going to bring a lot of people down to the blue line because after the red line, the blue line is the next connection. So while it is catching up the blue line, it's also putting more people on to the blue line. But the gap is closing. The gap is definitely closing. But the biggest benefiter of this right now is the red line. The red line's now got even more people using it. Because obviously that's its first port of call when it comes to the connection from this yellow line extension. Now, yellow line is now taken over and the blue line is back at square one at the bottom of the list. Wow. Absolutely wow right now. So, interesting. We'll see what this day brings. But we're now hoping for a little bit more revenue. I'm not hopeful for too much. But considering that we're going to call it 250 is what we were averaging a day before this episode. We're hoping we're going to be pushing closer to 400 with an extra 150 a day on top of things, which would be fantastic. Right, any of my lines contain trains that are... It's the blue line that contains trains that are not 240 capacity. So, trains, I gotta buy more first. Let me just buy 30 more. Bam. And now we've doubled the capacity of the blue line. So all my lines should have 2,400 capacity, if that makes sense. So route ridership then. You can see it is dropping down. We might need to add more trains, just like the red line and stuff like that, because it is looking pretty bad. Trains. Right, I've added a few more. I'll buy a few more. And even then, it's still, like, busy. We'll get 4 on that demand. And still, it's super busy. Oh, my goodness me. Right, that day's over, by the way. So that then finished at a total profit of 378 million. Which, now that I've just bought more trains, we should see even more coming in after. So this is where we was before the episode. That's where we are right now in terms of profit. That is huge. Absolutely huge amounts of revenue coming in, which does mean I can then continue the expansions and the extensions. Redline is closing in right now on over 200,000 people using its route. So it was at 2.4% earlier on demand stats. It's now 3.1. Still miles to go. And obviously I'm going to make it cheaper as well for more people to use it. But we'll get onto that at a later date. Does anybody think that we need to kind of show the blue line a little bit more love? Maybe we might focus on doing the extensions for the blue line in next episode. I think we might need to. I really, really do. But guys, we are going to end it here right now. Big, beautiful extensions. If you did enjoy this episode, please smash the like button down below. Until next time, I will see you all soon. So, goodbye.